Hello, welcome to chapter 32, part 2, Bootstrap Tooltip Manual Trigger, brought to you by Ankpro Technologies. My name is Harish. In this session, we will be learning like how to manually trigger the Bootstrap Tooltip. So, in the last session, we learned like how to build the Bootstrap Tooltip. And also, we achieved that functionality by using the JQuery Tooltip method, and to that Tooltip method, we passed these options. The options include placement, title, animation, delay and HTML. But as of now in this session we are going to learn another important option, that is trigger option. What is this trigger option going to do? This trigger option, it specifies like how the tooltip should be triggered. In the sense, it's going to tell you like how the tooltip should appear, whether the tooltip should appear on over or on focus or on the click or manually. So how to achieve this? Right now in this session we are going to learn, we are going to use this trigger option to do that work. So let me jump into Visual Studio and let me start coding for that. Now you can observe an image here. Okay, this is what we are going to do right now in this session. We are going to take a form control, okay, input type text and a name label. Now what I'm going to do is, let me take a label. It is having like name. Okay, now let me come here and let me add input type is text, and let me remove this value and let me add a title. Title is like enter username, and I need to set one attribute, that is data toggle, to tooltip. Control S. Now when I go back and when I refresh my web page, you can observe I'm getting a name label as well as the input control. Now when I over on that, I'm getting a title telling like enter username. Now how can I convert this title into a Bootstrap tooltip? It's very simple. I need to write a bit of JavaScript code. So what I'll do, I'll scroll at the bottom. Before my body, I'll call a script tag, and to this script tag I'm going to tell like what type of script I'm going to write. It's text bar JavaScript, and here what I need to write a bit of JQuery dollar. I'm telling like document load, document dot it's ready. Execute this function. What is this function going to do? Here what I need to do is, I need to identify this input element, okay, input tag. How do I identify it? I can identify it by ID selector. So I'll give the ID as tip text. Okay, let me copy this, Control C, and here let me identify that element by its ID. Okay, ID is represented by hash, and let me copy the text. Now what I need to do is, I need to call the tooltip method. Control S. Now when I go back and when I refresh, now when I over on this input element, you can observe I'm getting a tooltip telling like enter username. So now what I need to do is, now I need to make use of this trigger option. In the sense, now let me check like what are the default values present to this trigger option. Okay, let me check it for over and focus first. Now you can observe this Bootstrap tooltip is coming, it's executing, or it is displayed when I over on this input element. So the default option right now for the trigger is, default value for the trigger option right now is over. Now let me check it for focus. Now what I'll do, now I'll go inside this address bar. Now what I'll do, now I'll press tab key. Now as soon as I press the tab key, the control will jump to this input control, to this input tag control. So when it is something like focus, see, on focus the Bootstrap tooltip is appearing. So the default values for the trigger option is over and focus. In the sense, the tooltip is appearing like on over as well as on focus also. So now we have to do it for click and manual. Keep in mind the trigger values, okay, for the default trigger values are over and focus. Now we have to do it for click and manual. In the sense, keep in mind, okay, I want this tooltip to appear when I click on the input element. Right now it's coming for over, you can observe here, but I want it when I click on that input element. So what I need to do is, I need to write I need to make use of the trigger option. How do I make it? It's very simple. Inside this tooltip method, okay, I need to take the curly braces, then I need to make use of that trigger option, trigger. I have to tell like when the tooltip has to be called, when it is on click. Okay, now when I do Control S, now when I go back and refresh, now you observe I'll not get the tooltip when I hover on this or when I focus on that, but when I get it only, but I get the tooltip only when I click on this input control. This is very simple. Okay, how did we achieve this? We achieved this with the help of this click value passed to this trigger option, and here is the code for that. You can observe here. Okay, trigger click. Okay, now let me do it for manual. Okay, now let me do it for manual, and before that you can observe here I'm having a glyph icon, that is info. So let me go and add that. How do I do it? Immediate to this, what I need to do is I need to add a span. To this span, let me add a class glyph icon. Glyph icon. Let me check it. Okay, it is info. We have to check it for info. Okay, GL. This is glyph icon info sign. So when I go back and when I refresh, we'll get that info sign here. Okay, now you can observe we are getting the Bootstrap tooltip when I click on this. But now let me do it for manual. Okay, what I need to do is here I have to change it like, okay, here I have to change it like instead of click we need to pass manual. When I go back and when I refresh, now you can observe we are not getting the tooltip when I click on it or when I hover on it or when I focus on it. And now I'll click on this glyph icon also, I'm not getting that tooltip. Now how can I do that? It's very simple. Now what we'll do is when I click on this info icon, I have to get the tooltip. How can I achieve that? Manually, using this option manual. So what I need to do is first I need to identify this info button, info glyph icon. How do I identify it? I identify it by passing an ID to this span. The ID includes like info sign. So now what I'll do, I'll write again a bit of JQuery code telling like to identify this ID. I'm identifying this ID. Then I'm telling like on click of that, okay, on click of that I need to execute one function. Okay, the function includes, okay, on click of this, okay, I need to get this tooltip. So how do I identify it? I identify this tooltip by this ID, that is tip text. I'll copy this, then I'll come here, then dollar, I'll pass the ID attribute. Okay, I'm identifying that tip text. Then I have to tell like, okay, how can I call that? Okay, tooltip. Okay, then I have to tell it like when I click on this it has to toggle. Control S. Now when I go back and when I refresh, now you can observe we are not getting the tooltip when I click on this, when I hover or when I focus also, but I'll get the tooltip when I click on this. You can observe here very carefully. Again when I click on this, the tooltip disappeared because we have attached the value as toggle. Okay, and now we are getting that only when you're clicking. Suppose I need the tooltip when I hover on this info sign. How can I achieve that? I need to change here, instead of click I need to pass like over. Control S, go back and refresh. You can observe when I hover on this info sign I'm getting the tooltip. This is what we learned in this session, like how to trigger the tooltip based on the trigger option and its values. By default the values are over and focus, and we saw it for click and manual in this session. And finally, thank you for listening. Have a great day. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel Ankpro Training. You can also like our Facebook page visiting these URLs. You can also follow us on Twitter. For further references, visit our website, and we are on LinkedIn too. Last but not the least, please don't forget to give the feedback. Thank you. Have a great day.